All right, good evening. Good evening. We'll get started for today's session over here. Okay, so for those of you who have been joining us for the past 2 weeks, welcome back. Okay, I think you guys should be familiar with how we run the weekly market analysis session. For those of you who are new, maybe first time here, okay, very quickly just to give you an overview of what we're gonna do. For me, every week I like to go through what has happened in the past week to keep you guys updated. And then from there, we'll look into what are some of the events to keep an eye on for the current week. And we'll then jump into the technical analysis portion where I'm going to walk you through, some opportunities that you might want to have it in your watch list. Keep an eye on for the entire week itself as it progresses, okay? So very quick over here, disclaimer as well, okay, because as we are sharing over here, sometimes we talk about live market. There are some opportunities that you can take as well. Hey, but I just want you to know that everything we share is for educational purposes. Of course, ideally, those opportunities play out as what we want, and we're all able to also capitalize on it and make money, right? But of course, trading and investing does involve risks, and especially on margin trading. So just want to highlight over here to ensure that all of you are aware of the risks involved, okay? So as I mentioned, the overall structure will summarize what happened in the previous week, go through the economic calendar for this week, and we'll look into the technical charts. And I want to keep this again concise and sweet. Okay, so we're not going to drag too long, and at the end of this session we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A to just answer maybe a couple of questions that you might have, and we'll wrap it up from there. Cool. Okay, so with that, let's jump into the calendar for the previous week. So last week is NFP, okay, which a lot of traders are going to be very excited about that usually. But before we dive into the NFP side of things, I think one of the important aspects to take note was the RBA cash rate. So the market actually expected a hike of 0.5%, but the RBA only did a 0.25%. So it's actually what we call a dovish perspective coming from the central bank, because they're not that aggressive anymore, right, in terms of their hiking. That did send the Aussie a little bit to the downside as of last week. If you take a look at what's happening right now, the Aussie has still been pressured to the downside. Later we'll dive into the chart, and then you have a better understanding of what we can expect for Aussie. But last week we managed to short sell. We managed to sell the Aussie dollar, and just this morning we managed to get out of that trade in a take profit, right? So that was pretty decent, pretty nice trade as well, riding a little bit on the confluence of a dovish RBA, okay? Then last week we also have the RBNZ, but that came in not much of a surprise. So the market priced in a 3.5 hike, a hike of 0.5 to 3.5, and the RBNZ did that, so not much of a movement from there. And then of course we have the NFP. Okay, so NFP came in was okay, not much of a surprise, but I think the major one here is the unemployment rate. A little bit surprising because we are talking generally, the conversation is inflation, and then we're likely gonna see a recession coming in next year. Then naturally we will expect that, okay, things are not gonna look good, okay. And unemployment rate is expected to maintain at 3.7, but last Friday data came in at 3.5. Not much of an impact in the dollar. However, it does give a little bit of a surprise element, because it seems like it's still rather resilient in terms of the labor market. Okay, So that gave a little bit of strength in the dollar. We did see that. But of course, we'll take a look into the charts in a while and to share with you that for me right now, I'm actually more of a neutral perspective towards the USD. Okay, so that's on last week. Let's jump into the week for now. Today we do have a couple of bank holidays, so not much of a movement that you can expect. Tomorrow and Tuesday, not much as well. On Wednesday, we do have the US PPI. That might give a little bit of impact in the market. You can see last month came in at negative 0.1. This time around, they expect it to be positive 0.2. PPI is called Producer Price Index. It does have an impact in inflation as well, though not as significant as like CPI, right? Consumer Price Index. So do keep an eye on that. It might create some volatility if the actual data comes in very different from what the market expected. Okay, and then as I mentioned, CPI, you can see over here on Thursday, we do have the CPI and the core CPI as well. So that's going to be naturally more important than the PPI. What you want to track is the year on year as well. Okay, so this one here you can see currently as of last month is 8.3. That's naturally the inflation rate, right? Right now the market is expecting it to drop to 8.1. Okay, so the actual data is going to be very crucial on Thursday, because if the data comes in higher than 8.1, we might see the dollar strengthening further, because that means that inflation is still a key concern and the market would start to price in more aggressive Fed hike. Okay, if the data comes in less than 8.1, perhaps below 8, we might see the dollar sell off a little bit on the other side, right? Because then it means that the recent hike has been effective in a way to bring inflation down, and the Fed need not be so aggressive in hiking in the future, and then traders might just sell off the dollar from there. Okay, so I think this Thursday CPI year on year is going to be very, very crucial for the dollar. Okay, and then on the technical side of things, the dollar right now is at a key area as well. So this too can come in quite handy if you're looking at some of the major pairs or even the dollar specifically. I think Thursday will be crucial to keep an eye on. Okay, and on Friday we have the core retail sales and consumer sentiment. Does have a little bit impact in the US dollar, but I think the CPI is going to be the crucial one this week. Okay, so if you take a look at what we have this week, I think the focus is definitely on the US side. All the news that's coming in that's important is definitely on the US dollar. Right, so have that in mind as you are trading throughout the week. So with that, let's jump into the chart. Okay, and we'll first take a very quick look at the dollar index over here. Now, why I say the dollar is actually at a key level, because we are seeing currently this pattern where we have a very impulsive drop, and when it comes back to the 618, we have a quite impulsive bounce, and we're right now back at the 618 of this move. Okay, it's not that 618 means the market is going to reverse or things like that, but definitely a key level to expect some kind of reaction. Okay, and right now as we're speaking, the market is trading around this zone, which is around 113 for the DXY, and therefore I'm maintaining a very neutral perspective, because what we're seeing now in terms of pattern is just a V shape. Okay, and most of the time after an impulse move, I prefer to stay at the sidelines, let the market have some time to develop further and show me what is the pattern that it will turn out to be. So for now, if it's gonna do a little bit of a consolidation here, maybe from now, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then building into Thursday CPI, if that's gonna be the pattern, then we might have a very decent short-term trade to bring the dollar higher. Okay, so from a technical point of view, you can combine it with the news that's coming in on Thursday as CPI to trade a potential breakout. Okay, that's what I'm looking at. However, if let's say, tomorrow or Wednesday the market just decides to come down in a very sharp impulsive move like that, then maybe we're in a ding dong, which is unclear, and therefore you probably just want to stay out of it, okay, and wait until CPI data comes out, and then come back to the technical charts and see if we get a clearer patterns and setup that we can take. Okay, so that's the plan for me for the dollar. So right now I'm maintaining a little bit of a neutral perspective. Okay, and if you bring that to the euro dollar, which is naturally the inverse of the dollar, okay, euro dollar here I'm also maintaining a neutral perspective, so you can kind of see quite the opposite. So we have this V shape here, same thing. I'm just being very patient on that. Okay, so nothing much. I'm not gonna focus too much on that. We'll just leave it as of now. Okay. Pound dollar over here is also coming back towards that 50 and 618. Okay, so over here on pound dollar, a little bit on neutral perspective as well because of this V shape. I want to see how the market react off this level. Okay, so in terms of when the dollar overall is uncertain, in terms of my approach here is neutral, right? Then most of the major pairs you're gonna see is also gonna carry that same perspective of being neutral. Okay, so like euro dollar and pound dollar, unlikely we're gonna get much unless as I mentioned, let's say euro dollar decide to build up into a flat pattern here, a corrective structure, then on Thursday we can take this down. Okay, so that's the only setup that I'm looking for the week. Okay, if that happens, then I have a trade setup on euro dollar. Now Aussie dollar had a very decent one. Last week was this move here because of RBA missing that expectation from the market. So very nice move. Right now I'm maintaining again a very neutral perspective. Why? Because the market just give off this little impulsive move, and we just broke this low. Okay, so for me, not much of a setup, not much of a potential for the week. You just want to stay out of it. Okay, dollar Canadian, if you're looking at a very short-term play, then you might get a what we call an intraday potential setup over here. Right now we do have this quite sharp move, and the market seems to be developing a little bit of a correction here. And short-term wise, this kind of suggests that we might get another pushback to the previous high at 1.3830. Okay. However, you also want to be cautious, because if let's say the market decides to do a crawl pattern, something like that, you need to then, if you're involved in that buy and it develops as a crawl, you need to be quick to manage that trade and maybe get out at small profits, or even manage it to shift stops to protect your capital. Because if this is going to be a crawl, there's a possibility this will come back down. Okay, so dollar Canadian, it presents right now maybe a short-term play to the upside, but you also want to be very careful. It can very quickly turn into a potential reversal trade. Okay, so this is more of a short term, because if you go back to the 4-hour, this is not a very attractive trade for swing traders anyway. Okay, so that's on the dollar cat. Dollar franc actually broke out of this high as of today. So you might want to hold on to a bullish bias on the dollar franc, but it's a little bit too early right now to say, because this can still come back down like that. Okay, so my suggestion is wait for at least a correction to develop like this, which is going to be the similar case for the dollar index. Wait until Thursday. If you see a correction, you can trade the upside. Okay, so if you don't have access to maybe the dollar index, you can then look out for euro dollar or even the dollar franc for that potential trade. Okay, so that's the one. Dollar yen, you want to just leave this aside. It has been consolidating since like start of October. Not much of a move, not easy to trade within this kind of environment, so stay away from the dollar yen for now. Okay. Some opportunities to keep an eye on. I think you have the Aussie yen, still something to keep an eye on. I think last week we talked about this. I show you on the daily chart as well. The downside is huge. Okay, we talk about how you can look out for potential entry around 9290. I'm still riding on this trade. Okay, so you will see, okay, because this is currently moving quite nice. It has broke this low here as well. Okay, if you're not involved in any of a sell trade yet, then my suggestion is be patient first. Wait for a pullback. Wait for a corrective structure. If you get that, you take the next trade down. If you already have a trade and you have shift stocks to break even, which means risk-free for now, and the market develops into a corrective pattern like that, you can consider to do what we call a scale in, which means you add on to another position while maintaining a kind of minimum risk, right? Because your first position has zero risk, you can decide to add another position in, and then if both trades starts to run in the direction that we want, then it becomes very favorable. Okay, and it can be a huge profit for this. Okay, so keep an eye on that. Naturally, we have the CAD yen here as well, which is on the daily chart quite similar. We're expecting this downside. The 4-hour chart did not move as what we are anticipating as of last week. I did get involved in the sell, and then I took it off at break even because of this move last week. Closer to its Friday, I got out at break even because of that move. I'm still looking for the sell, but looking at this development, this can still go back up first, then maybe that drop, right? So something like that instead. So I'm maintaining a patient perspective, but I'm still looking for the sell. Okay, I'm not interested in the buy, but I'm waiting for maybe a better price entry. Okay, so Canadian yen, something you can add on into your watch list for the week as well. Okay, and then we have the euro pound, more of a short-term play, not the best out there, but for those of you who are looking at maybe 1-hour chart intraday, you can consider this one here. We have this, of course, as a trend line. If we can break down impulsively below this low, we can expect it to come back towards like 0.86, which you can capitalize maybe about 130 bits. Fairly decent on euro pound because euro pound is not a very volatile pair. So if you can catch about 100 plus pips on it on the hourly time frame, that would be quite decent. Okay, but be careful as well because as long as the market is still respecting this trend line, we can still see more upside, and this can develop into a way bigger corrective pattern before that drop. Okay, so just take note of the possibility of what price can develop into. Okay, but this is one of it for more of a short-term intraday. Okay. Another one that I think it's worth mentioning, but we don't really have a setup yet, is on the euro odd. I think one of our traders actually shared also about this pair that he is monitoring. So naturally, it's a good area to look up for because you can see here on the daily previous support, resistance, resistance, and we're back in. Okay, these are areas in which you want to start paying close attention to it for a setup to come in. Okay, so on the forward chart, to me, there isn't much of a setup yet. However, if I were to put in, let's say, a RSI indicator, there's a good possibility that we're gonna see a divergence building up. Right, let me just take that and just want to change this. It's showing sign now. You can see, right, as it's going up, we have this RSI already starting to come down, which suggests again lack of momentum, and usually it means a reversal. Okay, but to me this is a little bit too early to be putting in a sell yet, right? But this pattern can develop into something perhaps like this. Okay, to be conservative, you want to wait for that push down, a correction, and then you take that trade from there. If you're aggressive, you can look for the break of this trend line. Okay, maybe you can put in from reference of this low here, and then you take that trade if it breaks. Okay, so that's definitely one of the trade that you want to keep a very close watch, because if I were to go back to the daily chart, if we just be very conservative and say, okay, if this is the top and the market were to reverse, we're in the range environment, where will it likely go back towards? Maybe all the way down. Okay, even if it doesn't go all the way down, and let's just say you're gonna go 50%, right, which you can identify some minor support resistance area, it's still worth it. Okay, because if you just do a very quick rough estimation, that's about 400 pips. Okay, I mean, if you don't catch the full 400 pips, you catch a 300 pips move, it's still worth. Okay, so keep an eye on Euro Aussie. For me, I want to give it a bit more time to see how it develops here, but we're definitely at the area of interest. Okay, so take note of that. The commodities market, okay, gold is coming down quite sharply. Initially, we were looking to buy, but this drop looks rather impulsive, so I want to be more patient. I want to see how the market develops from here, right? Basically, it looks very V-shaped for now. So not much there ongoing. Same thing on silver, nothing much. This looks a little bit impulsive. If I want to buy, ideally this should come down something like this, gentler, right? This drop is a little bit too fast. So for me, this week, silver and gold, I'll probably stay out of it. Give it time to develop further and see how it goes, okay? However, if you're looking at commodities, I think crude oil will be quite interesting. The daily time frame perspective over here, you can see is that crude oil has broke above this daily channel, which is significant, right? Because if the market has that momentum to break something on a daily scale, it carries some weight. Okay, but of course, that doesn't mean you immediately jump in and buy it. From an Elliott Wave count, we are currently testing around that 200% extension, and we are seeing price stall a little bit. So we are expecting a bit of a pullback to start develop as a wave 4. Okay. Now, if let's say wave 3 really ends there, around that 200% extension, then we can expect wave 4 to come in somewhere around that 382. Okay, and 236 area, right? So somewhere around there. So we want to again see this comes down in a very, very corrective manner. If we can get that, then that might be the wave 4, and we can expect more upside on wave 5. Okay, so for me, if you're interested in commodities, crude oil will be one of them for the week. Okay, for this to do a correction, you probably want to give it until closer towards Thursday or Friday to see. If we can get that, then we have a good, decent trade to the upside. Okay, so that's on the commodity side of things. And then for crypto, Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin nothing much, but coming back to Ethereum, I shared this I believe last week as well. It's doing a little bit of a triangle pattern, and that would be the wave 4, and we're expecting at least one more drop to complete wave 5 on Ethereum. Okay, and over here, if I go back to the daily scale, okay, you can see that this is potentially a WXY, and from a daily scale, this can be an impulse, this can be a correction, and then we can expect another pushback up. Okay, maybe not that high, but at least something like that. So long term, this is the opportunity to look out for, but at least for now, in the near to short term, you go back to the 4-hour time frame. This is a short-term play that you can capitalize on if you're interested in trading the crypto. Okay, so one key level to keep an eye on is somewhere around 1289, which is the recent low, and you want to also see it break below this minor trend line. Now, if that happens, you can look up for areas somewhere around that 1180. It's about $100 potential downside, right? A short-term play, if you're interested in that. Okay, so yeah, that's about it. Okay, I missed out on the S&P, but basically equities for now, I'm very neutral. Okay, I think you know why. We have a little bit of a V shape here, so not much. Okay, nothing we're gonna do. We're gonna wait and see how price is gonna develop from here. Good. Okay. So to quickly summarize, what I'm looking at, what you can potentially be looking at, and then I'll see if you guys have some questions. We'll take maybe 2 or 3 questions, before we wrap it up today. So things to look out for: Aussie yen, okay, CAD yen, Euro pound, Euro odd. For those of you who are interested to trade the CPI on Thursday, you can look up for Euro dollar. If this develops into a correction, you can look for the sell in confluence with potentially a strong CPI data. And for those of you interested in dollar franc, same thing here. If you see a corrective pattern, you can look to trade it to the upside in confluence also with the CPI data. And those of you into commodities, look at crude oil. Those of you into crypto, look at Ethereum. Okay, good. So with that, let's see if you guys have any questions. We'll take maybe 2 or 3. Okay. Okay, I see some of you are also sharing some of the potential pairs that you guys are looking at, right? So I see over here Euro New Zealand, Kiwi CAD, double bottom as well. I think we jump into Kiwi Canadian first. Yeah, right. So Kiwi CAD, initially I was also eyeing this, but it might be a double bottom on the 4-hour, but on a daily scale, there isn't really much, right? And the current momentum seems to be down, okay, on the daily as well. So I wouldn't want to pay too much attention to this, since I do have some better opportunities that I can keep an eye on, right? So that's the reason why I did not put Kiwi CAD in for the week. But obviously, you can still look at it. If you get a solid reversal setup over here in Kiwi CAD on the 4-hour, it's still a valid trade. Okay. One of you mentioned Euro New Zealand. Okay, this setup here, to be honest, on Euro New Zealand is not the clearest. Maybe this can turn into a triangle. This can also turn out into a bigger corrective pattern like that. This can also eventually turn out into a crawl that looks something like that. So right now, I don't have sufficient information to kind of like look at this and say, oh, which has a higher probability, right? So for that reason, I don't think Euro New Zealand is one that I want to pay attention to as well. Okay, and if you take a look at the daily scale, we have run up quite a bit, and that's about it. Okay, for the past couple of days, you can see over here is just white candle, red candle, white candle, red candle. It's not the clearest setup right now. Okay, so for that reason, I'm just giving it more time. For Euro New Zealand to maybe play out first, see what's the pattern. If I get a clearer one, then I'll look at it again. Okay, another perspective here is we do have this fib area, okay, which is kind of testing around at 101.23. So this can be also what we call a completed WXY or 3-wave move. And most of the time, after a completed 3-wave move, you can expect also a deeper pullback, maybe towards that 50 and 618. So personally, I would not pay too much attention to this for now, right? Because we're basically seeing many possibilities of how price can still turn out to be, and for that reason, I'm staying away from it. Cool. Okay, so I see one question on Euro Yen. What do we think about it? Not the nicest pair now. Okay. We don't have a pattern, right? I mean, if you take a look at the 4-hour chart, if you want, you can squeeze in this fib here, and it kind of look quite similar to the pound dollar. right? If you kind of like take this part, okay, which we have an impulsive move, a drop that is rather strong towards that 50%. You look at Euro Yen, quite similar, right? You have this impulsive move, a quite impulsive drop towards the 50%. So again, when patterns itself is important, right? So you realize why I'm not really focusing on Euro Yen as well is because it looks quite similar to Pound Dollar, and Pound Dollar is not something I look at it as well. Okay, is really because this doesn't give me any advantage in deciding the direction, and if I don't get a very clear direction in terms of higher probability, I'll just stay out of it. All right, so that's on the Euro Yen side, quite similar to the Pound Dollar. Okay, in terms of the pattern, right, that's the reason why we don't really touch it. Cool. Okay, any other questions from you guys? Okay. Okay, this week, probably not a lot of new setups. Okay, but there are still a couple of them that I think is worth keeping a close watch, because you might get it closer maybe towards the end of the week, and you might not need a lot, right? Like last week, Aussie yen was still riding on it. So sometimes you just need to take maybe that 1 or 2 trades for the week, and if that trade really play out well in the mid to maybe even a longer term perspective, you just keep milking that trade, right? You just keep riding on that move, add on to positions and things like that, and that's the whole idea of it. Okay, you just want to have like cherry pick the better trades to focus on. Cool. Yeah, so while we wrap up over here, just wanted to very quickly share with you also a little bit in terms of a current offer, okay, that we have together with Zenfinix over here. Okay, and a quick update on some of the events, right? So over here, if you're not aware still, we run this every Monday, okay, 9:30 GMT plus 8 in Malaysia time zone. Something similar like today, okay, and then of course this one is done. Okay, last week we did have a webinar in Chinese, and then if today you are based in Penang, okay, which is a city in Malaysia, we have a physical workshop coming in on 16th of October, okay, 2 to 6 p.m. That's on Sunday, and on 18th of October we also have a physical workshop in Chinese, also near in Penang, Bukit Mertajam, in the evening at 8 to 10, right? So if you're in Penang, in Bukit Mertajam, you'd like to join in for this workshops, they are free, but you naturally need to register for it. Reach out to the support team from Zenfinix, okay? If you're watching it on Zoom, the team will drop a link where you can click, and then you go over to WhatsApp and you can chat with the support team. If you're watching this currently on YouTube, you go to the description box. There's also a link that says chat with Zenfinix support team. Click on that link. You can actually chat with them directly to inquire more about such events. Okay. If today you wouldn't want to miss out on any future maybe webinars that we're gonna do or physical events that we're gonna do go over to the Facebook page Zenfinix Malaysia. Okay, click the like. Make sure you set up the notification button so that when they post something, you receive notification on Facebook, and you wouldn't miss out on any future events. Okay, obviously I'm gonna put it up on my social media as well, so if you're following me on there, just make sure you click on receive notification as well. Okay, and for those of you who are new to trading and you'd like to actually take up a training, a workshop, a course to give you a holistic understanding about the financial market, more specifically is the currency and the FX market. We currently have this collaboration for the 4 trading pillars masterclass. Why we call it 4 trading pillars? Because we cover fundamental analysis, technical analysis, sentiment analysis, and risk management. To me, that's the 4 pillars towards FX trading. And right now you're able to get this for free in collaboration with Zenfinix, right? So inside this course, we cover holistically how you should get started in trading, what are some of the important terminologies in the currency market, all the way towards developing your trading plan. Okay, and of course we cover risk management and psychology. So inside we have quite a bit of bonuses and things like that as well. If you want to find out a little bit more, feel free to reach out to the Zenfinix support team as well. Okay. So how you can get this for free? Very simple. Today you definitely need to register and verify your trading account with Zenfinix. Obviously this is free, right? You just register, submit your proof of identity, proof of address to verify your account. And then from there, you just need to make a small deposit of $500, and you're able to then get this 4 Trading Pillars Masterclass for free. And this $500 is not, a fee or any sort of. It's a deposit to your trading account, which means that you can actually use this $500 to trade. Okay, and then from there, you get access to the masterclass for free. You get to learn. And on top of that, okay, we are also adding in a Telegram signal group. Okay, in a way, when I identify, okay, there's a potential setup, I'll share it in the Telegram group, and you can use that as a reference to assist you in your trading as well. Okay, and the month of October, right now, if you deposit $500 with Zenfinix, you also get a $150 credit bonus, which means you can use this 150 on top of your 500, in total about 650 as margin to trade, right? So you actually have like more capital that you can use to trade your account. Okay, so that's the current promotion offer that we have together with Zenfinix on the month of October. Good. Again, if you need more information about all this, feel free to reach out to them, okay, through WhatsApp, right? So the links are already posted. If you're in Zoom, you can click on the link. If you're on YouTube, the link is found in the description box. Good. Okay, so that's all for me for today. With that, we'll wrap up for today's session over here. And then, all the best to your trading. And again, I'll see you guys in the events in Penang, or if you're not in Malaysia, then I'll see you guys online in the next sharing as well. Okay, now I'm pretty sure you guys might have a little bit more of the questions. If you want, you can still feel free to reach out to me, or you can reach out to the team at Zenfinix. Okay, I'll still be able to answer your questions accordingly. Okay, so good. All the best to your trading, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.